Okay, so at this stage, hopefully you have created your WordPress website. You have the template already downloaded for an online resume. And hopefully also you see the value in terms of what you've just done in terms of creating an online resume. Now, the next step that I want to go through, now that you've done all the steps to create the website, download the theme, download some of these pre-made websites, is to actually go through how you can start to edit it and make it your own. So let's go through it. And when we left off in terms of the instructions, we saw all of these different options in terms of pre-made websites for the 7 theme. Now, there's tons of them, and if you actually start clicking on the different options, you see these are really good looking websites, and they're actually quite useful for the purpose that you're going to use them for. So the one we recommended that you go to first was the one called CV, and naturally that's a good one because that's exactly what you're going to be doing. So this is what it looks like. It has the name at the top, it has a picture of the guy, his title, and all the other things that you might see in a typical resume. Now, the interesting thing about this is obviously that somebody else's qualifications, their experience, education, everything is already inputted into this. So what you're going to want to do is to make it your own. You're going to want to edit all of the different contents within this. But before we get to that, the question is this really what you want for your resume? And my personal opinion is that this is nothing all that special. It looks too much like your typical resume. Just because it's online versus on a piece of paper doesn't necessarily make it that much better. So I would actually recommend that you not use the 7 CV pre-made website, but maybe you start to look at some of these other ones and how it can apply to your individual qualifications. So a couple of the ones that I like, and I think that you should actually probably go through each of these on your own, figure out which format you like and which applies to you directly. But some of the ones that I like are digital artist, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see that this one's a little bit more interesting looking. You have a picture here. Suddenly you have media attached to it, so photography, you have some interesting illustrations here. It talks all about the different services and things that this person has done in the past. It has a quote. It starts to have a lot more interesting stuff. Then it goes into actually having a portfolio. So this section right here, Discover My Works, allows this person as a digital artist to display all the work that that person has done in the past. And not only does it show a picture, but you can actually click on each of these different things and suddenly you get a little bit more detail. You get a better representation of that media. And this person actually goes through, well, here's what the actual work entailed. Here's a description of what the problem was, why he was hired, who the client was, and when he did the work, and then potentially the outcome of what that was and the benefits. So that is so much better than that really generic resume that we saw in the last one. This is a good looking resume, and this actually adds and enhances what people typically do for a resume. So this one's really, really good. Now, you might look at this and say, okay, maybe, but doesn't really apply to me. I'm not a digital artist. Maybe I don't like the colors and the different formats here, so that's fine. Go back to the pre-made websites, and let's look at some of the other ones. So here's one that I quite like. I think this format is really, really good, and this is called the 7 Webmaster. So this person, you can immediately see, has a really cool design. They have a menu of all the different things that potentially you would want within your resume. A section about them, their biography, why they should actually work with this person and what skills they bring to the table. It gives them a full representation of their portfolio. It gives them an idea of what sort of services that they can provide on a forward-looking basis. And then all kinds of other things, prices, contact details, working process, and so much more. Now, when you go and scroll down, it has all the elements that a typical resume might have. It has the person's name, their title, all the different facts and experience they have, but it does it and presents it in a much more user-friendly way. If you're looking at a resume and trying to decipher, gosh, is this a good fit, or is the person with bullet points on a piece of paper a better fit, this is much more impressive. This is going to be someone that, gosh, you're a hirer and you say, I want to interview this person. They've gone above and beyond. They've done it creatively. They've created something that's aesthetically appealing to me. And they're showing and demonstrating all of their different work, which, as you can see right here, this person's a web developer, so they give you links to all the different websites that this person has created. gives you more of a proposal type of thing, how I work, all these different things. This is outstanding. And I can guarantee you that if you take this sort of an approach with the design, the contents, and all of the effort that this entails, you're going to get a lot of good responses. Assuming, of course, you're qualified for what you're applying towards. One more one that I want to point out, and actually in the pre-made websites, these are the most common types, are the different service websites. So you can see there's one for construction, one for psychology, for law, medical. The one I want to point out is a marketing agency. So if you are applying to a job either as a services firm, an agency, or something like that, you might actually want to articulate all the different things that your company does rather than your own individual self does. So this looks like your typical company website. It has all the different services that you offer. It talks about your team. It talks about all the different case studies that your business has been part of. And it just looks like a very professional business website. And obviously, as you can see, the style is so much different than the other ones that we've looked at. So my encouragement to you is to go through all of these different ones. Figure out the format that looks best for you, for your individual situation, and then use that one as your pre-made website. We encouraged you to start with the CV one, but of course, if you've already imported the content, you can always delete that and ultimately choose a different one. So there you go. Now, before we conclude, I just want to talk to you about how you actually take some of this content and make it your own, because this might be the first time you've used WordPress. So I'm just going to go through some of the different features. The first thing you want to know is on the left menu, the theme options button is a really important one. So this has all the different options in terms of how you can customize this to make it your own design. The skins would talk about the background and the different color formats that you use. You can customize that for whatever you want. The branding gives you the opportunity, if you have a logo in the upper left or somewhere else on the page, you can upload your own branding. You can upload your own fonts. You can choose what sort of size it is, what sort of font you use, different circumstances for different fonts. You can utilize different headers. So you can see in all these different ones, this person has this header. If you go to the marketing agency, they have this one, and then as you scroll down, it changes into this white background, so you can specify those sort of options. You have different options for titles. Maybe you have a sidebar over on the right side or left side, like some of these other people did. You might have a footer or a bottom bar. The point is that all of these different things, everything that you see here, even though it's a pre-made website, you can customize it to make it your own. Really strongly recommend you do that because, gosh, you want the design to be comfortable with everything that you represent. Now, if you want to start to change some of the actual content within this, obviously your name is not Ryan7. These are not your qualifications. How do you change this front page, this initial website? So the first one in these pre-made websites, if you go to the Pages tab, and then you go to this, I'm not going to do it because this is actually my website, but if you go to that, you can start to edit all the different pages, and they'll actually specify which one is the front page, so it's very clear to you. And then once you go to that, you can start to change the text, change everything within it. And then if you have multiple pages, which of course we recommend that you do, remember that this person, for example, had a page for each of their different works. That is done over on this one, which is Posts. So you go to Posts, go to Add New, or if you want to edit a current one, go to All Posts, and then you can edit all of the content within. Some of the other things that you have there, the media is where you upload your videos, your pictures, or any other media types. You can have comments, you can have a contact form that you can input into your page so that people, when they're impressed by everything you do, they can get into contact with you. You might have a specific thing for your portfolio, testimonials, and all the other things that are common within either your resume or your service business. If you have a team, you can input that. And there's so much more. Now, a couple last minute things that I want to talk about. In the appearance section, if you want to edit the menu, the contents that are up at the top right here, so for you, you might not have agency or services or Q&A. You might have different categories and different pages that refers to. If you do that, then, of course, you're going to want to go to Appearance and Menus so that you can edit that. Plugins is a really interesting one. Now, plugins basically means that other independent developers are coding things that you can input to your website, that you can add onto it. So think of it like an application. You download something and now all of a sudden you have new capabilities. Plugins enable you to do more than what you've already downloaded for this pre-made website. So an example of that is you might download something that backs up your site. You might download something that gives you better search engine optimization. You might have different tools. So an example is, in this one, you might not necessarily want individual pictures with this. You might want to have some sort of a rotating picture slide. So you have a big one here, and then after 3 seconds, it slides on to the next one. They have plugins for that. And just about any feature that you can imagine in a website, somebody has coded a plugin for that. You go to that page and you can search through all the different options, download them, and put them on your website. So it's certainly something to experiment around with. Other than that, there's just everything else you could possibly need. Settings, tools, and so much more. Now, inevitably, you're going to run into instances where you say, gosh, I want to do this certain thing to my website. I want to change this, or I want to add this feature. And you're going to say, oh, I've never used WordPress. I don't know how to do that. If that's the case, if let's say that you're not sure how to do that slider that I was just talking about, very, very easy to go to Google and search for it. There are so many people who have put up tutorials, guides, how-to videos, and all kinds of other things that will tell you exactly how to do good things on your WordPress site. So in that example, you would just type in, how do I do slides for my WordPress site? And you're going to have all kinds of options pop up that will enable you and teach you how to do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't know exactly what you specifically want on your site, but hopefully I've given you enough of an introduction to what WordPress is, how you can download it, and the different options to really put this sort of a template together for your resume needs. These things look so much better than the average resume. And hopefully by this time you're excited because you realize, gosh, these recruiters that are looking at hundreds of boring paper resumes are going to be so excited by what I am presenting to them in terms of my qualifications. This is so much better and has so many benefits. So that is our tutorial on how to put together a WordPress resume, how to create your online resume, and all the instructions to get to this point. Now, in our final video, if you scroll down a little bit, we're going to talk about the best practices for an online resume. So let's get to that right now.